let's go ahead and jump in to our topics. And one thing that we started the last Demand Gen Jam session is actually kind of a hot topic, or really an icebreaker topic. And so as you guys know, we officially hit a bear market earlier this week. I think a lot of people are expecting that we're going to be rolling into some kind of a economic downturn in the months ahead. And I'm not one of those folks that likes to be self-fulfilling prophecy. I don't even like to be a naysayer, but at the same time, I think it's important that we walk into this season, or at least be prepared to walk into a season and understand that things may change, and how can we just be smart about that. And so the first topic up here is just really, what are some ideas that we can really think about when it comes to, you know, marketing in an economic downturn. I actually put a social media post up on LinkedIn today about that, and got tons and tons of engagement already. Some of the things that I mentioned were, you know, if we're going to be running into an economic downturn, it's really important that we know our numbers, because we need to be effective at managing up. Our bosses are going to be coming to us more than likely and saying, hey, we're going to have to cut our budget. Where should we cut it, or what can we do, or what should stay, what should not stay? And so I think as marketers, we really owe it to understand what parts of our marketing go-to-market activities are really working. So that's one. One thing that I found works really well, and this is, you know, if this is going to be an economic downturn, this will be the fourth one that I've gone through since 2020. And one thing that I found helps really well is focusing on information about educating the buyer, how-to information, because our buyers are going to be out there trying to figure out what they can do to continue to keep their businesses growing and profitable during a downturn. So if we can transition our content away from product stuff as much and more focused on, you know, what can we do to educate and inform our buyers to make their businesses better, that type of content seems to do really well. And that ties right into the next point that I shared in my post this morning, and that is just doubling down on long form content. Like if you're not blogging today, or if you're maybe blogging once a month or twice a month, look at maybe blogging more frequently, because when you write blogs, especially when they're educational blogs, you get a really good benefit of putting it on your website, getting search engine traffic, which is free traffic. I don't have to pay for search engine traffic, but B, I can also use that traffic to educate buyers and use it in our social posts, etc. And then the next thing down is it sounds like somebody needs to mute their microphone. I'm not sure who that is. I'm going to give everybody a chance here to talk in just a second. So the next one down is employee advocacy, just making sure that we've got our employees out there, you know, sharing our content, building connections with buyers, being part of the conversation in social. And then the last one I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to open it up to the group here, is just events. You know, I think events are probably the best mid-funnel thing that we can do, especially during an economic downturn, where it helps us generate leads or names of folks that we can market to. But again, with that educational mindset, you know, gives us the opportunity to educate our buyers and build our list. And so those were just a few that jumped out to me. You know, if you've got some other ideas, let me know, and I'd love to just add them. I'm gonna play Ivana here and type in all of our tips as we go through it. But who wants to unmute their mic and give us a couple that maybe I haven't covered?
Hey, so folks who don't know me, I can't let a microphone go silent too long. Otherwise, I feel obligated. I have to go pick up. Anyway, one of the things I think that's contemporary right now, Paul, is that there's a lot of speculation, and the whole cryptocurrency market went crazy too, if not worse than some of the other macroeconomic environment stuff. And so me being in the high tech space, it's maybe felt a little bit more on this side, but there's a lot of people who've also personally lost money, and a lot of companies owning these assets that have also, you know, been hit. So I think that's one of the things that I don't think we've experienced yet before. So who knows what the impact's going to be there. Other than I know there's some people on my team whose net worth, because they were way too leveraged in crypto, just personally crashed for them, right? So I have depressed employees who have lost a bunch of money in crypto, right? So I just think that's one of those things this is the first crypto crash we've ever had. So what does that mean on business, especially how business is connected today?
Yeah, so that almost sounds like, I was definitely focused on external marketing things, but that's a good point too, Mario, is that we got to think about our teams too. They may be licking their wounds on some crazy investments that they made. So that's a good point. Any other, and feel free to just unmute yourself, and we're all just going to try to please ourselves. I can't manage that on this end, but if you've got ideas, on what we can do to be very efficient and effective. Certainly we don't want to turn off marketing. Oh my gosh, that would be the way wrong thing to do. So how can we market effectively in this economic downturn that may be coming our way?
Well, I will say that I am one of the many that got laid off, and this is pre-Great Resignation, so I'm a little frustrated there with my competitors. But I will say that I think that you really need to consider the long term here. So, all right, we're scaling back our budget, and whoever that we are trying to go after, they're probably doing it too. So I think right now the focus is building trust, so that when that budget comes back around, we're already in their mind. So the how-tos, the insights, the events, just staying in front of your customer and not selling anything right now, thinking more long-term, I really feel like that's the way to go.
Yeah, it looks like Nick's got something he wants to share.
So one thing, I think maybe something we could look at is potentially creating some or utilizing the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that's in the marketplace, right? The fact that we're even having this conversation, you're building a community around this conversation. I think this is a testament to the fact that you can use the economic circumstances, the uncertainty, to create new conversations and then provide value to your community, which then eventually can convert over into, some type of a business conversation.
Yeah, Nick, I think that really ties really nicely into what Michelle said, because right now it's about delivering value. It's solidifying relationships. It's building trust. Historically, companies that continue to market during a downturn come out stronger on the other end. But as B2Bs, I think that's incredibly important, Nick, and that is, what can we do to really solidify relationships with buyers, current customers, our target audience? And that's, that's a great tactic for when the economy is great, as well as when the economy is down. But when we focus on the buyer and serving them well, I think everybody wins. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the topic at hand today, and that is, how do we deliver a full funnel integrated digital go-to-market? And if you'll just scroll down on the agenda, I think it's on the second page there, you'll see our framework, if you will, for executing demand gen. And I felt like this would be a good thing just to start with as we think about, how do we, connect and engage with buyers? How do we move them through a process? What we found is that these are kind of the 4 pillars that matter. And so what I wanted to do is just kind of hit these at a high level, have you guys have a chance to react to that. And even then we can roll into the next subtopic there, which is, what are the keys to success? So when we're trying to go out and get our brand in front of our buyers, what have you guys found really, really works well? And so let me just quickly highlight the framework here. And so the first pillar is all about planning. You can't be effective in digital marketing if you don't have a good understanding of who our customers are. So you really have to have a clear, understanding of, this is my ideal customer profile. I talk to so many B2B companies that think that they can basically, sell, because they can sell anything to anybody. That's who their customer is. And the reality is, that's really not who we should be marketing to. If they can write you a check and fog a mirror, that doesn't mean that's our ideal customer profiles. We need to make sure we spend time really understanding who our customer is, what are the problems that they have, that we can really help them solve. And then from there, understand what are topics that really matter to them, so that we can really communicate in a way that's effective, that aligns with what we know more about solving their problem than they do. And that really helps us identify key topics. I'm not going to go into it today because we don't have time, but at Vindy, we really do believe that we want to keep those topics fairly concise, that, you should have content pillars, 3 to 4 content pillars that you really try to focus your content around that align with what that ICP really cares about and the problems that you can solve for them. And then once you've got that figured out, you can move into the activate your audience phase, which is really, okay, now that we know who our customer is, where do they hang out? Where do they go for information? Where do they go for knowledge? And how can we reach them there? What are organic things that we can do? And what are paid things that we can do? And we're going to look at a matrix resource that we have put together for you guys in a little bit that will help you think through the right tactics to really activate your audience. So it's all about just getting in front of them and starting a conversation with them digitally. And the goal of activate your audience is to get to that third pillar, which is establish authority and empathy that really just communicates to the buyer, we're qualified to solve your problem. Not only are we qualified to solve your problem, we want to solve your problem. We have empathy, and we've thought a lot about the best ways to solve your problem. In fact, we've even given you a plan that says, if you're here today, we know how to get you from where you are today, the pain and suffering, to a better tomorrow. Just follow our plan, and we're going to help you get there. And all that, really, the best place for that to happen, at least the way we believe it should happen, is on your website, because that's the best opportunity you've got to really convince somebody that you're qualified to solve their problem. And then ultimately, because we're in B2B, we have to have that fourth pillar, which is nurture relationships. We can't control when a customer is ready to say yes. We can't force them to say yes, but what we can do is control that when they think about us, when they are ready to say yes, rather that they think about us instead of our competition. So when we're working with our clients, and even for Vindy, and developing a full funnel integrated plan, it always starts with, who is our customer? Where do they hang out? Which is activate your audience. How can we prove to them that we're qualified to solve their problem and give them a plan forward? And then what do we do with them as they're thinking through how to solve this problem, so that they come to us when they're ready to go? So let me pause there and just, where the main topic here today is building this integrated plan. How do we get in front of buyers that don't know that we exist today, and get them all the way through the funnel to where they're ready to talk to an AE, or have a demo, or talk to an SDR, whatever the case may be? Any thoughts or comments, or even moving into the next subtopic there, which is keys to success. So when you're executing your go-to-market for your company, what have you found works the best?
Hey, Al, it's Angela Goldman. I work for a company called 3 Pillar Global. We are a software services organization. One of the things that actually kind of harkens back to the conversation about the economic downturn and really ties into all of this. If your organization is fortunate enough to have intent data can be very, very helpful in terms of how you obviously are targeting your dollars, your budget. I definitely still advocate for keeping that relationship going, continuing to build the trust for the folks that aren't in market and won't be for some time, but you can actually still make progress and generate conversations for your sales team by really focusing on the accounts that actually are really showing that intent. And so it is quite a spend. Intent platforms can be quite a spend, but I think that they can be a really good tool to help navigate in good times and in bad. So I'll just leave it at that.
Angela, thank you for jumping in, by the way. So appreciate your comments. And I think you're probably talking about like an intent partner, like Metadata or 6 Sense or somebody like that can give you who's in market in your category. Exactly.
Yeah, we just onboarded 6 Sense and are figuring it all out, but the data and insights is incredible. Definitely advocate for folks to check it out and learn more. It is a pricey solution, but it can help you really, really focus. So even if you have to spend a little bit more for the technology, it can help you potentially reduce your spend in other places.
Yeah, great point.
A quick add there, Paul. Angela, we use ZoomInfo, and I was very lucky that our sales team paid for ZoomInfo for their SDR prospecting. And I was able to, in the renewal, get the live chat and intent packages added. So we've been able to do a lot of cool stuff there. And so there's a lot of things out there that intent data, it coming from a company like ZoomInfo, who most of us think of as who you scrape to send out email blasts, right?
Right.
They're also got some services.
I had no idea they had an intent side of the house.
They do.
Check it out.
I think they're one of the more cost-effective partners out there too. So, and everybody's intent data is a little different, and I think the jury is still out on what the impact of third-party data will have on that. It'll be interesting to see what happens over time. But right now, intent data is really good. And just for those that may be on the call that aren't familiar with that, some of these partners that you've heard, like Zoom or Metadata or 6sense, and there's other ones that are out there, they can take your category, whatever that industry is, and through data that they get and source from third parties and on their own, can tell you who they believe are in market, what the logos are. They're not going to necessarily give you email addresses of the people that can buy your product, but that's a great, and you'll see this even when we get to the matrix here in a little bit that we're going to share today, but that is a great mid-funnel, lower funnel tactic. And the one thing that I say all the time is that we want to market to all the people all the time, because 95% of our market at any given time are not in market, and 5% of our market is in market. And so absolutely, yes and amen, we want to capture demand with those people that are in market. But we also need to be thinking about how can we stay always on and get in front of those people that may not be ready to buy today, but are certainly our ideal customers. So, Angela, thank you for sharing. Anybody else? What else are some just keys to success when developing your integrated go-to-market?
Something we concentrate on is being very intentional when we go outbound with our marketing efforts. I think so often you get all these inbound leads, and then you kind of are very reactive to the type of people that you're getting, and it influences a lot of decisions downstream. But when you're going outbound, I think the first stage in that process is really important to us. Just clearly defining what that ICP looks like and getting very granular, and knowing when to say no, or that's not going to be worth it for us. And there, the lists become much smaller, but you can have a very targeted discussion with someone who meets the exact customer profile that you're looking for. Right. Down to like, what software are they using? What do you need to integrate with? What vertical are they in? How many users do they expect to have? And as marketers, it hurts us to say no, right? Because we're broadcasting messages across the board. But from when you're going outbound, when you're doing very targeted campaigns towards a smaller cohort of your audience, it becomes a lot more effective, because the messaging can become much sharper. Your strategies and tactics become a lot more focused, and you can be actually a lot more cost efficient from a time and budget standpoint.
That's a great point, Christian. And the word that I kept hearing in my mind while you were talking is segmenting. As we start outbound, how can we get our audience, our ideal customer profile, and maybe even segment it down so that whatever that outbound message, and this is true with even just marketing messages in general, but how can we make that message feel like it was written just for the person that's going to consume it? And the more precise we can get with our segmenting or whatever, the better our messages can be aligned to those key pain points or whatever that person may be. We've also found that when you call out the industry, or call out the role, or use some type of personalized information like that, it really makes your marketing messages hum along. So great point, Christian. Thanks for jumping on, by the way. Good to see you. We really do need to grab lunch one of these days. I know I talk about it every single time, but here we are in the same town. We haven't done it yet. So that's on me. I know it. So I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, which is helping buyers buy. And this is really what we talked about last time, primarily from a paid perspective. And that is that, we talk about, and even say it in this agenda, it's the full, what's our full funnel go-to-market plan? And, in many ways, I sometimes hate the term funnel, because it makes us think about, these disparate, unique stages that we expect buyers to go through. But the reality is that's not really the way, buyers buy things. In fact, there's a lot of talk today just about the dark funnel and what is the dark funnel, and, anonymous buyers. And the reality is that buyers, go through a unique process with lots of different people on their end as they're trying to vet different options and even prioritize options. They may have a need but they may have 10 other needs. They may have this problem, but your problem isn't as bad as another problem. And so they're just trying to understand, what problem am I going to attack today? And so, it's important that we just think about, not just the funnel, top, middle, and bottom, but also just that journey of the buyer, not being aware of the problem they have, to being aware of the problem they have, and now they're looking for ways to solve that problem, to then learning about your company and really how your company is best aligned to solve their needs. And we spent a lot of time talking about that last time, and just really what are some tactics and channels that work really well there. But I did want to open the floor up before we jump over to the resource. Are there, anything that you feel like you want to share with the group about, things that you've learned that really help you get in front of buyers that aren't aware of the problem? That would be like demand generation in its purest form, right? Creating demand is about helping somebody understand they've got something wrong in their business and they need to be aware of it, and leading them to a path to fix that problem in their business. What are some things that you guys have found in either three, any of these, the problem aware, problem unaware, problem aware, solution aware? What are some things you found work really well in either of those categories?
Something that I've used a couple of times in the past is weaponizing your own user and customer data to inform audience buying decisions. And so what that might look like is like a benchmarking report or something. How do you stack up? And you can use your anonymized and aggregated data to kind of provide, especially if you're in a kind of a niche space where no one else is really talking about it. I find it to be really powerful because you kind of control the mic. How do you even know if you have a problem if you don't even have any data to support your decision? You might suspect it, but without getting to some sort of objective measurement, it's really difficult to do. So sometimes you can do it with surveys, but the best ones are like if you can actually take your actual user-based data, anonymize and aggregate it, and then
that's great.
That for demand gen.
In the B2B world, that's I love using kind of the old way, new way approach. So if somebody's doing it the old way, you can talk about kind of the old way being the way that they're currently doing it. Fruit Loops, in your example, that's the old way. So how can you talk about the old way as being old and your way kind of being the new way? And that's a great, and we've had good success with companies and helping them position their product as the new way and not the old way. And that does cause and create demand, because people will go, well, gosh, maybe I need to quit buying Fruit Loops because that's got sugar and it's going to make my kids lose all their teeth. And I need to go to this new way that's going to be a better way for me to feed my kids breakfast and make sure that they have a healthy meal. So that was really a good point that you made. I appreciate that. Let me jump on to the resource. So if you guys are following along on the agenda, you'll see a hyperlink right below helping buyers buy. And if you came to the webinar last month, we also handed this out as a resource. I was just going to walk through it in a little bit more detail and would love to have just dialogue about it. So when you click on it, it'll take you to a PDF that says digital marketing strategy at the top. In fact, I could just drop a link down here, which I will, in comments to make it super easy for everybody. Hopefully that's going to work. So I just dropped it in the chat there. So this is definitely taking more of a full funnel approach when you hear funnel. And what I wanted to do is, one, just kind of walk through this. So it's broken into two sections. The top section is more of a channel centric view. And then the bottom section is more of a content offer budget view. So as we look at it's the same stages, right? Awareness, evaluation, and decision. And so when we're developing out a strategy for our business to kind of grow it using digital, there's different things we can do at different stages. And it starts with understanding the goal. So we understand at that awareness stage, our buyer is, they're problem unaware. They may not know. It's the whole discussion we just had about, old way versus new way. And so our goal needs to be, getting our ideal customer profile to understand the problem that we can solve. And really the next goal is for them to consume our content. And so one of the challenges that we see businesses have a lot when it comes to top of the funnel activities is they really want to take somebody from, I don't know you exist, or the problem that you solve, to getting married in the same message, right? And that's just not going to happen. So what we've got to do at this top of the funnel is really market ourselves consistently, and what we've referred to as always on, where we're thinking about it as, what is it that we want our ideal customer to know about their challenge, or about what's going on in their industry, or about our business and the problems that we can solve? What is it that we want them to know? That really needs to drive the information that we share at top of the funnel. Now, when you look at that and you look at the channels, there's some channels that are easier to reach your audience than others top of the funnel. We feel like LinkedIn, from an organic and a paid perspective, is definitely thumbs up, that we can reach our market top of the funnel very effectively using LinkedIn. But really, most of these other channels are kind of difficult to accomplish that, to ensure that we're going to get our message out there. Now, I'm not saying that that you shouldn't try these things, and every industry is different. But let me pause there, just in terms of top of the funnel activities and getting more people aware of your business and the problem that you solve. What's working? What channels are working? Maybe we can focus on channels right now. Are you guys finding other channels than the ones listed here? Obviously, search is not there, but that would be a channel that we could talk about as well. What's some good top of the funnel channels in this awareness stage?
You mentioned retargeting. I've been doing that, Paul, but then LinkedIn being a place where with the targeting you can do, I'm seeing that as being efficient right now too.
Yeah, I think retargeting
where Facebook's
awesome.
fallen off for me.
Yeah, I think retargeting, and we're going to get into the various types of retargeting here in a little bit. Man, that's huge opportunity for mid and bottom funnel, especially. And Christian, I see that you said 80% of your traffic is coming from organic SEO. I couldn't agree more. I mean, content marketing and making sure that your website is well optimized, and that your content is focused on, the problems that you can solve and how to solve them. And not just fluffy me too content, but really useful, helpful content. So great point, Christian. From a goal perspective, right? This is problem aware. Now they're starting to think about, how do I solve problems? What are the best options for me? What are the best vendors for me? What are the best approaches for me? Really, our goal at that stage as marketers should be to educate and inform them. Again, it's not so much direct response, but hey, you've got this problem. Here's some ways to think about solving that problem. And at the middle of the funnel, again, for some of the reasons that Mario brought up, retargeting becomes easier to reach them across multiple channels. So we really like LinkedIn, again, for middle of the funnel, this evaluation stage. Twitter works well there because we can hit them with retargeting. Facebook begins to be a good option for us because we can hit them with retargeting. YouTube is also really good because, a lot of people go to YouTube as the second largest search engine and would rather watch information than consume it with text. And so big fans of leveraging YouTube for middle of the funnel. All right, I'm going to move on down to the decision stage, which is solution aware. And really what our goal at solution aware needs to be is to validate that we are the right tool for the job, right? So, at the top of the funnel, we've communicated, hey, this is the problem that you have. These are ways to solve the problem. And this is how we would solve that problem if we were working together. And so, you've got this problem. Here's why it's happening. And here's what we would do to help you solve it. And the middle of the funnel is really about, them evaluating the different ways to do it. And now what we're trying to really convince them is, this is, we are the right tool for the job. And so, man, again, LinkedIn is a great tool for this. Search is not on this list because this is more social centric, but I think search at bottom of the funnel is a very good channel as well. What other channels are you finding that work well? I added review sites under other. Certainly review sites start to come into play at this level. Let's look at the different types of offers and the different tactics and really kind of our budget allocation, because I really would love to get your feedback here. So again, we're going to look at these three stages of the funnel. And so, at awareness, the type of content that we feel like works well is point of view. We kind of talked about that. Challenging norms. Those are things that really get their attention top of the funnel. And boosting your content, if you look at tactics, doing things like taking a blog and slicing that blog up into micro content that you then share in social media and then promote that content to your target audience is a great way to get the attention of your buyer at that awareness stage. And then ultimately, we think that spending about 40% of your budget at that top of the funnel is really effective, because this is going to give you that always on and give you the ability to really market to not just in market buyers, but also buyers that may be in market at a later date, but are not in market now. I do get pushback. People sometimes say, why should you put 40% of your budget in top of the funnel? And I feel like top of the funnel is so important because we can't control when that buyer is ready to buy. Now, we do have access to like intent data that we talked about earlier, and we definitely want to use intent data, but I find that intent data works the best at middle and the bottom of the funnel, and that's where about 60% of our budget's going to be spent anyways. So let's move on down to middle of the funnel. And again, our goal here is to educate and inform, and they understand they have a problem. They're trying to figure out how to solve that problem. The content that we find works really well here are tips and guides and playbooks and frameworks and events. These are the things that, we need to be really strong in that middle of the funnel. And, I think the era of the ebook is over and behind us. And that's probably a good thing, because my gosh, we've all downloaded the ebooks and gotten 1,000 phone calls and 1,000 emails because we downloaded an ebook. And quite frankly, all that information is available online today. So we have to be smarter as marketers. And I would challenge all of us to be thinking about what kind of information can we deliver in the middle of the funnel that's going to really help our buyer evaluate and make informed purchase decisions that help us generate leads and create momentum for them at the same time. What's working well middle of the funnel for you all? I can tell you for us, events are working great. And this is what we're doing right here. Even though it is an event, this is an experiment for us. We're trying to build a community of B2B marketers here, but we do webinars multiple times a year. Those are our events, and those are our mid-funnel. That's our primary mid-funnel tactic, and it works really, really well. How about you guys? What's working middle of the funnel?
We're seeing just doing better segmented emails helping us. So what we've done, at least in the past 6 months, is look to get our segmentation a lot better, because we weren't using it. So get that a lot more tightened up. And so what we're finding is we're now putting more specific and less generic touches and impressions on these people mid-funnel, which we're finding some success in. Mario,
what is your offer at mid-funnel? You're sending them an email. What's the call to action?
The call to action in most cases, we're a open source software product, is, hey, go try this. This idea that it's very easy to go try something in their context, and it just helps us remind them to stay engaged on using it. Because if they use the free trial and it works good, that builds our funnel from there.
Got it. And it sounds like you have a free trial product too. So that might be your mid-funnel as well.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Carrie, you mentioned webinars are great, but they aren't performing as well lately. I think a lot of people, you mentioned virtual fatigue. I think it really comes down to the quality of the content too. One thing that is the expectation that buyers have in coming to events is that it's going to be highly educational, highly informative, and no pitch. And I think the more you can do that, the better. And one other thing about just events is, we approach events with a pre-purpose mentality, which means, we know that event is going to get recorded, and we're going to slice it up, and it's going to become a source of content that we're going to use at multiple stages of the funnel. So, even if we don't get as many people as we want at an event, it's still going to have lots of value for us after the event. So, another thing, just last little comment here before we move on, calculators and tools and assessments, I think those are great if they're going to help the customer evaluate or configure or calculate what it's going to take to accomplish what it is they're going to accomplish. They'll give you information and become a lead in exchange for information that's going to help create momentum towards them solving the problem. Okay, we've got like 4 minutes left, so I'm going to drop to the decision stage, which is really, again, the right tool for the job. offers, Mario, you mentioned this is, hey, you tried it, or you did the free trial. Now, take the next level with us. One thing I didn't touch on in tactics in mid funnel, but I'm going to touch on it here is, retargeting is super powerful mid and bottom funnel. Okay. And I want to make sure everybody's aware that you can retarget people anywhere. So if somebody comes to your website on Google, you can retarget them on LinkedIn, you can retarget them on YouTube, you can retarget them on Twitter, you can retarget them anywhere. It doesn't matter where they come from. And so the great thing about retargeting is that something about this buyer, even if they didn't fill out information on your website. If they visited a page, or even recently LinkedIn is now allowing us to retarget people that engaged with your content. And so there's just wonderful ways of leveraging those audiences to get a lower funnel message down, but it has to be the right message. We just talked about mid funnel, but demo and trial offers, like you said, Mario. I saw somebody mention testimonials earlier in the chat. Man, testimonials and case studies are excellent types of content to share mid and bottom funnel. Guys, I promised I would end the plane by 1 o'clock, no matter where we are. And so we've literally got a minute to go. Great conversation. This is just a reminder. Please join us on the Demand Gen Jammers group. These are the types of conversations we want to keep going in between months, and also are in between these different Demand Gen Jam sessions. So join the group and fill out the survey, because we want to continue to groom this and make this better. It's really about us all just learning and growing together. So would love your feedback on the survey. You guys, great turnout today. Appreciate all the comments. Y'all have a great rest of your afternoon. Take care, everybody. See ya.